glasses. So
Perfectly. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Major Mohammed Ali Shah, and it's my proud privilege and honor to welcome a lady who needs no introduction at all. You all know her, you all admire her, you all have loved her work, her craft. She's a master craftsman of her trade. Yes, who I have learned a lot, who in a way I regard as my mentor because I have learned so much, not just by my brief stint of working with her, by being her production manager for her play, which she dedicated to her father, G. Saab Ji. Not just for that, I have admired her since the time I saw her first play. I saw her in 1996. I saw a play called Othello by Barry John, Adil, and Royce Nabel. A very dear friend of mine from NSD were there. And let me tell you, in 94, incidentally, 2 years before that, I done a play in school at Lawrence School, Lovedale, called Don't Drink the Water by Woody Allen. And Lushin Dubey's sister, Lilith Dubey, had directed that play. So I've had the honor of working with both I would say, not beautiful, I would say much more than that. Both the gorgeous, elegant, graceful sisters. Anyhow, there's a lot more to what you know of Lushin Dubey. And here we are in conversation with her, and let's discover more, which perhaps many of you earlier did not know. So, ma'am, hello and welcome, ma'am. Thank you very much for taking our time, ma'am.
thank you, Ali. Thank you. It's a privilege to be on your show.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Ma'am, let's start from the very beginning. Your father worked in the government service with the railways. Your mother was a doctor, and she worked with. I'm very intrigued to know about your mother's connection with the armed forces. She was from the army, so you are a Fauji brat, so to say. And Fauji brats have a different. I mean, to a different. You can make out एक personality ऐसे झलकता है, ma'am. So yes, ma'am. Let's hear
So, a
about that.
brief background, since you asked me about my parents. My father was in the railways. He retired as the general manager of Northern Railways. He was a poor boy who did his engineering in Karachi at the engineering college and was completely a self-made man because he lost his father when he was very young. When he was about two, he lost his father. My mother also, both my parents came from my mother from a village close to Karachi, my dad from the same place as Bhutto, Larkana, which was in close to Karachi. My mother came also, like my father, post partition to India, and my mother was one of seven kids who were biological. My grandfather was also a doctor from the Edinburgh Medical College. He qualified from there and had a private practice in Pune. And he had four more adopted children. So 11 kids. And mummy was the only one, I think. No, also my Masi. But mummy primarily, she was this third child, in terms of first, second, third child, and she from the age of 5 wanted to be a doctor. She was a very beautiful woman, exquisitely beautiful, and completely self-effacing. She told her father that I do not want to get married. In fact, she got married close to 32 years of age at that time to my father, who was also confirmed bachelor, about 33 years old or 34 years old. And she took this decision: I want to be a doc and I don't want to get married. So she actually was. She did her medical studies from Lady Harding in Delhi, and she was a captain in the army. Yes, and it was my dad who would cycle from work in Firozpur and come to feed the kids and look after the children. My mother was always busy, and she kind of, sort of tapered in terms of the amount she was putting in into her medical profession when my brother was born, the youngest of the three. So yes, she was very much, and both my parents were, in a sense, really, you know, idols for us. My mother was a complete feminist, believed that a woman must have something other than marriage in her life. My father was also a very interesting man. He was an engineer, a physicist. He was a musician. He used to play the mouth organ, the accordion, the organ. He used to sing. And he introduced us to the arts, my sister and me, when we were very, very young. I remember being like almost, less than third, fourth grade, second grade, 7-year old. And he would take my sis and me, she's older than me, to recitals, to, singing concerts, dance concerts. It didn't matter how late we came back home over the weekend, but he'd take us. And he also introduced us to classical music. My mother insisted that we should do dance, which we bunked a lot of, but we stuck on to doing classical music for almost like 6, 7 years. I used to play the tabla and so on. So I think the introduction to the arts is the first um, inject by my parents, which was very deep and which continued. So even though I did my BA, my MA, qualified here in the US to work with, I did my MA in history in Delhi and then an MSc.
From LSR, yes, ma'am, from LSR. In
Yeah,
fact, you've done MSc and MA both. In fact,
yes, yes.
that's
I
very,
did
very
my
interesting.
MA in Delhi and then I did my MSc in education in the US while my husband was at Yale. And then I taught in the US and then in the American International School. But I think theater was so ingrained from such an early age. My first international prize was in fourth grade in theater. There were there were lots of schools participating, including international schools in Pune, and I didn't even know what I was getting. I mean, I just went into it without, my teacher put me there, and I remember I played a divorcee with these kya kehte hain, these gloves, white gloves with a bag and a wig, and I didn't even know what. I still remember saying, "What is a divorcee? What am I playing?" It was hilarious, but I won the prize, and something kind of clicked then that okay, this is good fun. It's fun to do this, and it continued throughout school with Barry, with Sushma Seth, and but I continued, sort of doing because in our family there was a lot of stress on education, education. So that continued for us, but I guess it was just too deep an inject to ignore.
Ma'am. I know, ma'am, your association with Barry has been very, very long. In fact, you were a student at that time, and you run plays. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, you did Macbeth with Barry, if I'm not mistaken.
I was in Macbeth with Abha Sood and with Barry. Three of us were playing witches. I got the lead in Equus, one of the most famous plays, with Khalid. I did lots of plays with Barry, but I think by virtue of being the youngest in the group, I got lead roles later when I was about 15, 16. I joined at 13, 14, but I only got lead roles around 16. So I learned a lot being a ringside spectator in the wings. And honestly, I think, Ali, my actual growth in acting has happened pretty much on my own. When I have chosen to do what I've chosen to do, the subjects I've chosen to do, uh, I have chosen to work in Hindi and English. I have chosen that this is the kind of stagecraft I would like to do on stage. So that the growth has actually come from me daring to do what I dared to do. I remember when I did the revival of Shakespeare with Royston Abel and formed this group called United Players Guild with a lot of NSD artists. Him doing the direction, me doing the production, and me taking the lead roles as well. I said, look, if I'm going back, I want to do some solid acting. And he said, yeah, you play the leads. So we did 4 Shakespeare plays. The last one was Othello in black and white. And when I was doing uh, all this, a lot of my friends and people in theater said, hey, you're trying to revive Shakespeare. Who's going to come and watch Shakespeare? And it's just my conviction that made me feel that, look, we can do it and we can do it big. So I will look for that funding. And when I found the funding for the first show, which I think was Measure for Measure, then after that, we did Merchant of Venice. Then after that, we did another one. And then we did
You played Portia. You played Portia in Merchant of Venice, sir?
Portia in. with Amar Talwar. So
Right.
yeah,
And the Shylock speech, I mean, it's one of my favorites. He hath hindered me and disgraced me 500,000, laughed at my losses, mocked at my gains, scorned my nation, thought at my bargains. And that's an amazing speech. I mean, that is this one. And of course, you also did Merchant of Venice much earlier. And
yes.
from there, the Mark Antony speech on Caesar's death, when Mark Antony says, "Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. I come to bury Caesar, not to praise him, the evil brute." It is,
I think
these are,
we've all done it in high school, so it sort of stayed with us. But to revive Shakespeare seemed antiquated to a lot of people. It seemed like, oh my God, why are you going back into this? But Shakespeare's poetry, Shakespeare is, I mean, it's a self expansiveness, not just for the actor, but for anybody who's creative. Or, I mean, Royston did Othello in black and white marvelously. No wonder we won the Edinburgh Fringe first, because I think we were playing it on so many levels. We were playing it as Shakespeare as it was spoken. We were playing it and Shakespeare in the workshop. We were playing it with Adil speaking in Assamese and me learning excerpts of Assamese to understand him as an actor, and I was teaching him English. Then there was an Adil who didn't speak the Shakespeare in English, but who was such a passionate actor that even though he said it in Assamese and I spoke in Assamese, it clicked for the audience. We did the last bit in Kathakali. I mean, the exploration. I think you, as an actor, as an artist, as a director, as a scriptwriter, have to open the minds of an audience. If you have that conviction, anything can work. Anything. I'm currently sitting with a very audacious theme. I don't know when I'll do it as a solo artist, but it's my conviction that I can do it. So
I'm
I think conviction is the main thing. If you have that, they say no, 70% perspiration, 30% what? What is that saying? Uh,
inspiration.
huh?
Inspiration.
Inspiration. Here, I think for me, perspiration and inspiration goes together because I believe in real hard work.
Ma'am, four lines which would make me describe you, four lines, and it's totally to the T for you, ma'am. It is, there's this poem which you would have heard. If you think you're beaten, you are. If you think you dare not, you don't. If you'd like to win but think you cannot, there's almost a hint you won't. If you think you're outclassed, you are. You've got to think high to rise. You've got to be sure of yourself before you can ever win the prize. For out in the world, we find success begins with a person's will. It's all in the state of mind. Life's battles don't always go to the stronger or faster men, but sooner or later, the person who wins is the one who thinks he can. And ma'am, it is all your education behind you, ma'am. It is all the grooming and your parents have given you. I mean, the upbringing that, I mean, दिखता है मैम आपको and really your brother your sister I mean you लगता है कि खानदानी कोई लोग हैं it is दूर से ही like हजारों में in millions you shine out completely ma'am.
Thank you, Ali. It's so sweet of you. But this point about conviction, I think, is a very. But how do you develop conviction? How do you? How can you say with complete assertion that this will happen? I'll make this happen, because so much is dependent on resources, on so much is dependent on audience reaction. It is like Stanislavski said, you
Oh
know,
yes.
it's 49% what happens on stage. It's 51% your connect with the audience. And I've never forgotten this dictum as a performing artist, whether it is on stage or it is on screen. On screen, of course, you cannot see your audience. So you have to feel that playing it off with the actor. You have to feel that it's a very internal journey. So is stage, but stage is also an external journey because you're connecting with a palpable audience there. You know, I mean, I remember in Edinburgh performing one of my solos. I think you've seen it, Untitled,
Of
which was
course,
taken.
that I feel that's what inspired me. I have a lot to share with you on that right now. I want to share a lot about that with the viewers about your Untitled, how it inspired me and how it shaped my journey in what way. We'll come to that now. Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am. Please.
so basically, I had this audience where I saw in the first row, there were 10 punks, young guys, sitting, with their vests and chewing bubble gum and had their hair up, like Fido Didos, and had safety pins here, safety pins. And they were sitting all hunched up like this, and looking at me. And they had this very insolent look, chewing that gum, and watching me that, okay, lady, what have you got to give us? Excuse me. If it doesn't work with us, we're walking right out of here, because they were, sort of shaking their legs, looking at each other. And I was performing in Edinburgh, a solo piece, which was in English, albeit I translated it into English because there was going to be an international audience. And very quickly I realized either I nail these guys right in their seats, or they're going to get up and they're going to walk off. And that won't be good for the rest of the audience. So, excuse me, literally, Ali, I spoke to just them in the front row. I mean, everything that I was delivering, that I was connecting with, I was talking to them, and slowly all that movement and all became more restful. And they started, I could then operate in that whole dictum of, Stanislavski. It's 49% what I'm doing, 51% I've got them. I've really got them. So
Right.
so that happens only on stage. On screen, unfortunately, it's like, of course, comparing oranges and apples, but it's another journey. It's a beautiful journey, but it's a different journey. So I think you learn with each production. The more you challenge, the conviction comes when you master, I think, the first production that you go with, and you say, yes, I was able to connect at least 50-60% with the audience. You don't have the arrogance, or you shouldn't have the arrogance to think it'll be 100%. But even if it's 50 to 60% a connect with the audience, you're a winner. And then you go on with that conviction to build it into 70-80% with the next piece. So you decide your next piece. You don't just arbitrarily do anything. You sort of focus on what you want your next piece to be. Then you go on to the next one, and so on. So today, if I feel convinced about a subject, it's built on the bedrock of a lot of productions that have, with the grace of the universe, given me the successes that I have achieved.
Ma'am, Stanislavski also said one thing, with in all his books, in fact, be it the actor prepares, be it preparation of of a character, the one common thing I observed, he's mentioned in all his writings, which he says he asks one question that when an actor appears on stage, there's something about an actor which totally enthralls you. Now, what is that? He asks these questions, is it his looks, his dressing sense, his voice, his presence? What is it? And none of them. He says it is the charm of the actor. And ma'am, you have, I would say, and I'm not being biased over here. I genuinely, whenever I go about this, about what Stanislavski had said, मेरे जहन में मैम आपकी हमेशा याद आती है, हमेशा बात आती है. Why? Because you
आई
have
एम
it all.
श्योर ये आप बहुत लोगों को बोल रहे हैं.
इसमें मैम, with you na, it is, you know what, I have literally seen your sincerity. I've seen you work closely on close quarters with your craft, ma'am. It is really, and when he says, okay, it's neither an actor's looks nor voice. अब जो आपको सुन रहे हैं, अब वो लोग खुद बताएंगे कमेंट्स में,
जो मैंने कहा, आप इतने लोगों को इंटरव्यू करते हैं, मैं श्योर हूं कि आप ये उनको भी बोल रहे हैं. तो मुझे
जी
कोई
नहीं
खास स्थान पे रख रहे हैं कि सब लोगों को यही कहते हैं आप.
मैम, मैम, जी साहब जी के टाइम पे आई रिमेंबर दोपहर का वक्त था एंड वी वर सिटिंग ऑन a house on a dining table. Rahul Ram from Indian Ocean, he had come over, and that time we were talking about like acting as a craft. It means to do, to not add. उस टाइम पे भी मैं बिल्कुल जहन में, whenever, because मेरा favorite subject है Stanislavski's. In fact, that is something which I really can. With the moment you mentioned Stanislavski, straight away my mind, I connected then and there. Straight away, thought. There it is. And it is a fact. जो बात असलियत है, मैं वही बात बयां कर रहा हूं. And now, ma'am, we will talk about Untitled. I remember once, Arvind Gaur, in fact, उनके साथ मेरा एक close association रहा
I
है, तो
just
he
want to
had,
say one word on Stanislavski. Why is it that there is this identification for most passionate actors with Stanislavski? Because he speaks, acting, the word is a misnomer. It's about the heart and the feeling. And he speaks largely about that, the internal, what is happening to you in the moment, which is why your performances will always change. Because if you are in the moment all the time, how can it be the same performance every day? कि यहाँ हाथ रखा, ऐसे बोला, ऐसे कहा, नहीं होगा. It is what happens to you in the moment, and that is his greatest treasure in what he has left for us as actors. Please go on.
absolutely.
I couldn't resist adding that.
In fact, in an actor prepares, the first chapter itself, when he mentions about the exercise where he tells the acting students to search for a pin. He keeps a pin. He says search for it, and they're searching for it. And this time he says, okay, now go back and search for it once again. And he hides a pin. He keeps it elsewhere. So the actor comes prepared that it's over here. So eh, the pin is not here, and that is when the actor starts actually looking for the pin, and that's when he demonstrated that now देखो, this is when acting stops and the actor starts doing. So
Hmm,
वही चीज
hmm.
इतने सरल तरीके से और
Good.
कोई नहीं समझा सकता था. So
Bilkul.
when I for years I was with the Whistling Woods International, in Mumbai when I was there, and मैंने अपने स्टूडेंट्स को जो एक्टिंग स्टूडेंट थे उनको इतने द एक्टर स्टूडियो इतने सरल तरीके से यहाँ पे मैं इतने ही बात में इतने सरल तरीके से no one can. I I don't think anyone. So you said it very right. Why is that all passionate actors, like my obsession? It's not. It wasn't a passion, it was an obsession with acting. It meant that I would rather die than not be an actor, which means die doesn't mean कि I'll commit suicide. मतलब मेरे को इतनी चाह थी और वो मेरे को कभी वो नहीं था कि भाई to be rich and famous. And both most of us who do theater, because हमको खुजली होती है. As सत्यदेव दुबे जी rightly says कि हम थिएटर इसलिए करते हैं क्योंकि हमें खुजली होती है.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's extremely, I think theater is also a tool now for many actors and for directors and producers. I don't know about producers because they're choosy about what they choose, but it has become a tool for expression of so many subjects, not just taking a script written by somebody and doing it. Okay, you can take any subject and explore it on stage, share it with an audience, take it beyond the stage in a discussion mode, take it from the discussion mode into a doing mode. Theater now has a journey outside the stage. When you specially take concepts, social issues, things that are happening around you which need addressal, and use this God given gift which you have, which is theater, be it in whichever format, and have the conviction that I can take it beyond this stage into the doing theater. I mean, it's serving such a huge purpose. There, a film and theater, there is, theater has always been on a lower perch. But I think in many ways, theater is on a loftier perch than, than cinema. Many people will agree because of
Absolutely.
its reach, its palpable reach, which is why a lot of us who may do, of course, they are prolific film actors. I mean, they're doing a lot of movies and find it difficult to come back to stage. But I'm sure if a Manoj, for example, who have had the real good fun privilege of working with in two movies and having an interactive scene with him, if he was offered something phenomenal on stage, of course, equal to good commerce, but if it was, and he's earned it, he deserves that good commerce. If he gets that, I'm sure he would do it, because they can't forget their first love. It was a first love which lifts some of us to go into bigger spaces. But the internal space that theater offers an actor, I think, is so fulfilling, undeniable.
Absolutely, ma'am. Ma'am, and again, one can't compare the medium. Like, a film can be done in multiple shows, in multiplex in different cities, 3 shows, 4 shows. Play passionate actors can do a show दिन में मतलब 2 शो कर लिए चलो मैं तो ये भी सुना है 3 शो like I've seen Motley Productions doing 3 shows in a day as well in different
Wow.
cities when they are touring
Yeah.
and so मगर again it's a limited reach मगर जो मजा है उसमें it's unmatched completely मैम last week I was in conversation with Rahul Ram and आपको बहुत हमने fondly याद किया the
अच्छा.
old days yes ma'am so
हाँ.
and what
क्या
he told
कहा
me
राहुल जी ने?
अरे वो he was like really really remembering you really मतलब very very fondly what
Oh,
a
dear.
seriously ma'am seriously
I was
and
actually trying to get him involved in my latest piece, which I will do at some stage, called Karan, which is with just 5 characters. It's a fantastic script I've got written by Nicholas, and it's in English, and it's a musical, so it's tough. And I wanted the music. I had told Rahul, why don't you experiment and see? But I have to still come to that place, with Karan. Anyway, coming back to you.
so what Rahul told me something which again I struck a chord once again what he said that we formed Indian Ocean in 1990
Hmm,
1991 around that time
hmm,
मैम सन 2005 में दे गॉट द फर्स्ट फिल्म उसका एक गाना बहुत जबरदस्त हिट हो गया वायरल हो गया एक तरीके से
hmm.
and that is when the Indian Ocean, which had been performing for 15 years all over, live performances, but they had not got the kind of recognition which they got in the year 2005 because of film. And that's when he realized जो प्लेटफॉर्म है जो मीडियम है वही अलग है वही अलग लेवल का है सो
बिल्कुल.
सो लॉट ऑफ पीपल लॉट ऑफ एक्टर्स खासतौर से एनएसडी के बाद तो जो पैशनेट थिएटर वाले होते हैं वो तो अपना थिएटर करते हैं रीजनल थिएटर करेंगे वट एवर दे डू देयर थिएटर में राइट मगर मैम एक पब्लिक परसेप्शन है एक्टर मतलब अगर आपको एक्टर बनना है मतलब क्या अमिताभ बच्चन बनना है शाहरुख खान बनना है
हाँ.
नथिंग रॉन्ग इन दैट मोस्ट वेलकम यस बट एक परसेप्शन मतलब स्टार बनना है रिच एंड फेमस बनना है सो एक्टर कभी देखा तो नहीं किस पिक्चर में काम किया पिक्चर में काम नहीं किया थिएटर किया है so वो क्या होता है I mean it is really it's at time it's hurtful but then I have learned to live with it अल्लाह इनको पता नहीं है कुछ रहने दो but yes I must tell you मैम आपका एक प्ले है अनटाइटल्ड जो अरविंद गौड़ ने डायरेक्ट किया था एंड आई हैव सीन इट सो मेनी टाइम्स जो मैंने इसकी पहली परफॉर्मेंस देखी थी वो मैंने कमानी में देखी थी और उसके बाद फिर मैंने एयरफोर्स ऑडिटोरियम सबूटो पार्क में भी देखी एंड देन आफ्टर जब भी आपके अनटाइटल के शोज होते गए जैसे भी आई वुड ऑलवेज कम आई वुड बी द फर्स्ट वन at the counter buy a ticket and I would be there to watch Untitled and I would just watch you I was like so many different characters different shades switch on switch off cut how you were doing it I mean
ये
it was
बारात. Yeah.
जबरदस्त it was like एक तरीके से it was it may not be or I don't know but conscious subconscious but एक तरीके से वो माइसनर की टेक्निक मेरे को यहाँ पे बहुत दिखी एक तरीके से so were you making a conscious attempt to do Meissner's way of doing it or you were just it was your own
You mean the different roles?
yes ma'am
I think there I can actually say it with honesty. I think there is a gift that has come from somewhere, from above. एक अनदेखा हाथ है, एक अनसुनी आवाज है जो मुझे गाइड करती है. Honest to God, people say that, there is this somebody speaking to you, this, that. No, no. I just feel once I'm on stage, eh, I just get under the skin of those characters. You did not see. I've portrayed many, many old, young, man, uh, baby. Uh,
puppet
you cannot imagine the variety of roles I've dipped myself into. One of the toughest ones I did was in a solo I did for Save the Children called I Will Not Cry, where they came to me wanting me to do this solo, where it was on the healthcare issues of women and babies in India below a certain economic level. The last scene I play is 10 to 11-year-old boy who lives under a flyover. Okay. Most roles I just sense, I I don't do any sort of heavy duty research. It's just a sense because perhaps I was the middle child and had two very strong siblings on either side, so I was more of an observer. I paint also a lot. I sketch. I do lots of things with the hands. I do those kind of things which is a lot of internal focus. There's a lot of internal focus. As a middle child, I was more an observer. I would mimic, I would watch, I would absorb. So this one role, I remember stopping my car near a flyover and just looking at the children under the flyover. And I saw this boy, with a gamcha kind of thing on his shoulder and with chaddis, just hanging around the place, taking the pail. I heard him. I just observed him a little bit. And from a very high class lady with glasses and so on in I Will Not Cry, which was the second last role, I jumped into this boy, which was an 11-year-old. So I had to throw off this wig and put on another wig, which was just short hair, get into this very sort of browbeaten shirt and pant and this duster and become Sidhu. And Sidhu talks about how he lost his little sister on the road because the mother was a laborer and she was running around. And it's that story of his that ends I Will Not Cry because she was not fed well, she was walking very slowly, whatever the story is. That role was tough. That was really tough because I have to get into a 9, 10, 11 year old's thinking, and even the body language, and you know uh, uh, and then cry without crying, cry without the obvious tears in the voice and in so many other things, and then spell a message for the audience about, you have a Mercedes, but I have this, and all I want is this: a roof, some education, and food to eat. And oh my God, I was literally shaking after that 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 performance in the end, which was a 7-minute piece of Sidhu in the end. And I remember Shavana and people had come to watch, and she told me, I said, yeah, it really is, you know, yeah. So there
Yes.
have been tough ones, but by and large, I would say that it's really something that comes into me. I don't know what it is. It just
Man, no wonder you special. I would say you specialize in solo performances, and there are five very, very popular solo performances of yours, which any theater lover उनसे बात करो, इनका जिक्र हमेशा निकलता है. तो and खास तौर से तो मेरा favorite रही है Untitled, because that was the first performance which it had such an effect on me that I said, okay, एक चीज मैंने फौज में जब मैं सर्विस कर रहा था, I learned when there is no way, you create your own way. So
yeah,
एक तरीका
yeah,
वो हुआ,
right.
and दूसरा तरीका I because I've seen you from close from Untitled, मैंने कहा मैं एक प्ले डायरेक्ट करता हूँ, उसको प्रोड्यूस करता हूँ, उसी को ही एक्टिंग करता हूँ उसी में. And let me tell you, ma'am, since we're catching up after like ages,
Yeah,
there is a story I would like to share with you as well. तो हुआ यूं that I had seen your Untitled and I was वो मेरे जहन में हमेशा था ही था,
yeah,
back of my mind. So in the year 2014 जब मैं अपना कॉर्पोरेट वॉपरेट में फौज के बाद IIM गया, मैं कॉर्पोरेट में आया,
yeah,
मैं बम्बई जब मैं गया इंसिडेंटली, तब वी वर आई वाज शूटिंग फॉर विशाल भारद्वाज हैदर दैट टाइम. Again, he again specialized in Shakespeare once
mm,
again
mm,
adaptation. So मैंने कहा ये परफॉर्मेंस मैं खुद तैयार करूंगा और खुद इसको मैं परफॉर्म करूंगा।
Yeah.
एंड मैम मेरे को ऐसे ऐसे लोगों ने बोला, बड़े बड़े लोगों ने बोला, जिनकी बात मेरे को दरअसल एक्चुअली मान लेनी चाहिए थी, बिकॉज दे वर renowned people and they were speaking out of
Right.
their love and concern for me. They said don't even attempt it, don't even dare, don't
Huh.
even think of it. So
Yeah.
उस तरीके से, so I was frankly speaking I had doubts. I
Yeah.
said इतनी महान हस्ती जब बोल रही है मेरे को तो कुछ तो
Yeah.
बात होगी, but still I was adamant करूंगा तो मैं जरूर। फिर भी
Hmm.
मैम कोई नहीं आया शो के लिए, ठीक है। सो पीपल देखा, कहा था
क्यों
नहीं,
नहीं
सो
आया?
आई वाज,
क्या मतलब कोई नहीं आया?
मैम 7 लोग आए इन अ 550 सीटर ऑडिटोरियम एंड नॉन टिकटेड शो माइंड यू, कोई नहीं आया,
But
बट
you should
आई
always
वाज,
stick it. You should always stick it because then people come. When it's
दैट्स
free, then you face problems. Anyway,
दैट्स
then what happened?
तो मुझे लगा कि भाई लोग फ्री शो के लिए नहीं आए। अगला शो पृथ्वी हाउस में था इन अ स्मॉल व्हिच वाज टिकटेड इंसिडेंटली, मैम
Hmm.
देयर हाउसफुल एंड मोर देन हाउसफुल। थैंक यू मैम, थैंक यू,
Lovely. Lovely.
शुक्रिया मैम।
And what did
एंड
you, what was the response?
Oh, ma'am, I don't need to boast. I'm not, I'm just reporting factually क्या हुआ, standing ovation.
Wonderful. One,
और मैम खास
that's
बात ये
it.
है मैम,
That's
मैम ये
it.
सारे,
That's your conviction. And that's how your conviction worked. This is what I mean. When you, it really is your conviction that I can make this work. I can make this work. It will click. I'm a great believer in it. Like I said, you may have 7, 8, 9, 10. Finally, there'll be 50, 60 people who will see it. You get your conviction from that. Then you go to a bigger project or even the same sized project, but something you believe in. And lo and behold, you'll have people who resonate with what you're doing.
yes मैम। and मैम वो दिन और आज का दिन मैं हिंदुस्तान के तकरीबन तकरीबन all the states right from north to south, extreme east to extreme west में मैंने ट्रैवल किया है, परफॉर्म किया है। हिंदुस्तान के बाहर भी, देश बाहर के 2 देशों में ले गया हूं मैं वो प्ले। सो
Wonderful.
इट्स,
क्या
थैंक यू
नाम
मैम।
है उस नाटक का?
It's called the Major Actors Assorted Monologues. Not that I'm a major actor, but क्योंकि मेजर साहब ने फौज में इसमें एक्टिंग कर
Ah,
रहे हैं
you
तो
played on
मेजर
that
एक्टर।
word. You played
जी
on.
मैम।
Okay, nice.
और मैम खास बात ये, अगेन टेकिंग इंस्पिरेशन फ्रॉम यू मैम, इट्स
Oh
इन
dear.
इंग्लिश,
Thank
इंग्लिश,
you. Huh.
हिंदी,
Hmm.
उर्दू और संस्कृत 4 भाषाओं में है। मतलब ये नहीं कि वही प्ले 4 भाषाओं में है,
Hmm.
इसमें किस्से हैं,
Hmm.
कहानियां हैं,
Hmm.
दास्तान है, स्टोरी
Hmm.
टेलिंग है।
Hmm.
So I keep telling one monologue in English, one in Hindi, one in Urdu, one in, and there's no structure to it.
Yes, yes. You
It
know, the
goes.
toughest thing, Ali, uh, was for me when I performed Untitled in Dublin, Ireland. And I told the lady who wanted to take me there, she was an Irish lady who saw me performing in Delhi. And she said, I want to take you there and I want you to perform for the Women's Arts Council. So I said, great. I suppose you want it in English. I thought, Dublin, Ireland, where? I mean, you know, I'm going to perform in English. And she said, no, I want you to do it in Hindi because listen, people come to your country, and she had to point this out to me. You know, the French people, the German people, they bring their shows in French and German in their languages, national languages. So why shouldn't you do it in Hindi? I was very encouraged. I said, fantastic. But then I had done it like that also in the Smithsonian, where they made me write out each scene in English, scene one, very not too detailed, but explaining what is happening in that scene, and so on and so forth. So that's what we did in Dublin. But you know, Ali, to be there on the stage, to perform in Hindi to an audience that is completely English speaking and foreigners, can you imagine the 49-51% ratio thing is very tough. I mean, I have to just sense as an actor that they are with me, that they're journeying with me. They kept looking at this piece of paper, of course, to just see that, okay, this is the switch to the second scene, and Raja Sahib has come, and Barahat has come, and So it seemed, I wasn't showing them this is scene two, scene three, nothing like that. But they were resonating with it. Nobody left the Audi. We had dinner after that, dinner reception after the show, and they all seemed to have loved it. So again, conviction that, all right, I think I can do it. I think I can do it. You may not have done it with 100%, you know. I mean, recently I did Salam India, which is inspired by Pavan Verma's Being Indian. We've done over 62 shows, cities in India, Muscat, London,
It's
US.
very true. Yes, ma'am.
And I don't have any delusions that everybody there in the hall is going to fall in love with this play. Never, we must never have that delusion. It's not possible. Everybody sat through it. Maybe a few old people may have, I don't know, could have gone off. But what I'm saying is, it was a tough play to do because it talks about a lot of issues which are currently happening also, and talks about our history and what we've always been. Okay, our inclusivity, our whatever, those dynamic things which make us Indian, that we are one. We are one. Friends told me, oops, you're going to do this. I said, yeah, I am going to do it. I am going to do it. I think theater is a fantastic tool for all this. And why should anyone stop anyone if you're talking about your history? You know?
Very true.
So you have to believe in, I think, what you do. And if it fails somewhere and somebody says, no, I didn't resonate, so be it. You can't win them all. Anyway, you cannot win them all. And
Very
that's
true,
for
ma'am.
any art form, Ali. It's in painting, it's in dance, it's in everything.
Ma'am, that's very true.
To tread and
Ma'am,
be a pioneer in anything, you'll accost a lot of brambles, a lot of obstacles. But that's the trials and tribulations that you go through to really come up and surface as somebody who gets full conviction in the fact that I can do this.
ma'am, ma'am, I am very intrigued to know how a passionate actor, a passionate theater personality, a passionate performer like you handled the lockdown situation, the coronavirus situation, the COVID situation when everything was lockdown, theaters were closed, and there were no gatherings happening. How did you? Because I know a lot of people apparently told me, "Oh, it was I felt suicidal and such things." Ma'am, even I'm a passionate actor. I mean, I will tell you how I cope with it वो इसके बाद, but I would like to know how you आपने कैसे वो वक्त गुजारा मैम आपने क्या करा उस टाइम पे और आपने
Yeah.
क्या गुजारा
See, by nature, I think I'm not one who gets very sort of, how shall I say, hyper about situations. It's just not who I am. My being in the Buddhism, being with Buddhism philosophy for almost since 2005, has also been an added bonus. The practice, keeping you above board. You know, Such a simple philosophy of his that life does have suffering, does have pain, but you got to learn how to be above that. I mean, I'm saying it very simply. That kind of quotient of happiness that you've got to constantly try to keep yourself in that life state. That also helped. But yes, it was a very trying time. But I think before I could bemoan the lack of physical space and doing what I do and love doing, I jumped into the Zoom space. I just jumped into it. It happened 2020, uh, February, March, right? By March end, I was with a band. As you know, I also do kids theater. I was with a band of kids on Zoom. And I told myself, workshop after workshop is going to go on Zoom. We did lots of exercises, standing up, doing this. I told them, we are going to do at the end of this a production, and you're going to take this light. Watch this light. You're going to create lighting yourself. You are going to put makeup. You're going to create your own costumes. You are going to create a world on this little box. And I got an excellent editor involved from the word go. So we created three productions, musicals, musicals, that
कौन
before.
से करे मैम आपने? साउंड ऑफ म्यूजिक, फिडल ऑन द रूफ, साउंड ऑफ म्यूजिक?
No,
नहीं.
these were all originals, all
Okay.
created originals. And
Okay.
we did editing and we put it together. I brought out a YouTube channel, Kids World Connection, and brought out all these productions. And I said, that's the way to go. I mean, and people said, how you want to do a production on Zoom? I said, we'll just do it. And I feel I learned a lot. I had already done a course at NYU in filmmaking. I've been before the screen. I've been on the screen. I told myself now I want to go behind the screen and learn the basics of filmmaking. So it has now led me to a place where I had written a storyline for children and adults for a production, for a film, essentially for children. In fact, Major General is a role in that film. Okay, we come to that. Uh, and I wrote the storyline. I sort of vetted it through some filmmakers who've done independent films, and they said, "Look, this story is great. You've got to get a good script writer." So now I've got the script writer. My niece Ira Dubey is the producer, and we've signed our first MOU. And hopefully next year, end or whenever, we'll get cracking on this film. And I feel that this inject came from Zoom, came from what I created on screen with the actors. I realized, I realized, oh my God, this is achievable. This is doable. You just have to feel convinced that what you have finally is a deliverable that attracts. And if it has attracted,
मैम, there I make a connect once again. आपने मेरे मुंह की बात छीन ली. मैं कहीं ना दिल के किसी कोने में ये चाह रहा था और ये सुनना भी चाह रहा था that
oh,
in the army I had learned when the going gets tough, the tough get going.
yeah.
In the pandemic, I coined a quote and I said, when the going gets tough, the tough gets online. And that's what,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
what you
yeah,
did.
yeah,
That's
absolutely.
what you did.
I did that. I did that. I missed very much my personal acting. So as soon as COVID got, only twice I came to shoot for Made in Heaven in Delhi. In fact, my fourth scene got aborted because they asked me to come at a time when I just couldn't do it. It was the thick of COVID, and my family said, "You've gone twice, no more. You can't go at this time." So I had to tell Zoya's team and Zoya that unfortunately I can't do that. It's a small role in Made in Heaven, just Kalki's mother, but I couldn't do it. But that was a little bit I did. But other than that, my solo work, my performances that I've directed, I've created, I couldn't do any of that. So as soon as it got over and I was in Delhi last in August, I quickly booked my dates and did Salam India for two shows in, Lagatar in IHC. And
Wow.
they filled up. They were absolutely filled up, and people liked it very much. So I was so happy I went back. And now when I'm coming to Delhi um, next month in December, my this Jan beginning, I'm going to Darpana to perform Aruna's story, which you haven't mentioned, but which is my, oh my God, if you liked Untitled, you have to see Aruna's story. It is one of my toughest pieces. It's
I
on.
was waiting for you to mention. नहीं तो अगर आप नहीं बोलती भी मैं बोलता. Great. We would like to hear more on that, ma'am.
Yes, I'll tell you about it because, oh, I have really stretched myself in that. So it's in Darpana and then it is going to be at Sri Ram, I think. I will be doing it. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I'm talking to some people. Aruna's story is basically based on the life of Aruna Shonbag, the nurse who was raped at KEM, King Edward Memorial Hospital in Bombay. When she was 24, she was this poor girl who was very, very ambitious from Konkan, who told her parents, I don't want to sell idlis and sambars. I want to go to Bombay and be a nurse. So she comes to Bombay. I hope you heard the inflection, the Konkani inflection. She comes to Bombay to become a nurse. And she's very smart, very humorous, loves Hindi songs, and sprightly, and has a great sense of humor, and very good at her job. She's given the veterinary section of this hospital to manage, and she goes there and she's attacked by the janitor because she noticed prior to the attack that somebody was stealing the dog food, and it was the janitor who was poor with children. Sohan Lal Valmiki is his name. He's on YouTube. You can look at him. And he attacked her in that basement area. And she was in PVS, permanent vegetative state, for 42 years. I think it's the world's only known case of being in a permanent vegetative state. This book was a bestseller, Aruna's story, written by Pinky Virani. It was her first book and was an out and out bestseller. And I had asked her for the rights almost 15 years back, Ali. She couldn't give it to me 15, 20 years back. And she couldn't give it to me, she said, because she had given it to Mahabanu Kotwal, who did not do it finally. So she came back to me, Pinky, because as you know, I did her bitter chocolate uh,
Of course.
as a piece. And she said, I only want you to do it. So I said, lovely. She said, I want to look at the script. I said, yes, it's your prerogative. You will look at the script. I went back to Arvindji because I work very well with him. He gives me a lot of freedom to explore myself as an actor. And I do not show Aruna as this shriveled up PVS figure. No, I show her as the sprightly, beautiful, lovely woman she was. And I juxtapose that with what happened in her life with anecdotes that pop in from different sources. There's also a journalist that Arvind and I created. There is this girl who, and of course, Arvind is phenomenal with just creating a script very fast. He'll look at a book and he'll know, let's do it like this. And I'll say, let's try this. And then he'll say, okay, let's try that. There is so much synergy in the way we work that it was meant to be me to work with him, you know. And I can't tell you. It is it's just scintillating to watch what stagecraft we have used in this. I also play the rapist. You can't recognize me. My voice, me, you don't see my front, you see my back. But it has all these people who are thrown in, and always when you see her, it's this lively, beautiful girl, because I wanted to draw an analogy with a girl in a working space. So many of them have been attacked in a working space. And I also wanted to bring out the analogy of a woman's purity in so many ways, not just the purity of this Devi woman. No, no. A woman, if she wants she idolizes marriage or she idolizes love, men folk should be happy that there are creatures like us there. No, that it is the romance of Aruna and what was done to her. And then the last one third of the production of the play is what Pinky Virani fought to get. The changes for PVS victims, the changes for those who attack women who are left in this state. How do we deal with those rapists? It is equivalent to murder. So, some very, very, and she's still working on it. Pinky almost adopted Aruna. Aruna died in 2015 at the age of 64, 66. Okay, so, and we've had Rail Padamsi did this in Bombay. My God, the way she did it, and the discourses that were done on stage with the panels, police, nurse, um, uh, psychologists, talking to the audience who had so many questions. So theater is a very, very potent medium. And I think I love the fact that I can use it as that medium.
Mm.
Aruna's story has not seen enough shows, so I'm doing it in Delhi, and you are going to come and see it.
Lovely, ma'am. Lovely. That, of course, I would love to see it. I would love to see it. I'll get a whole lot of gang along with me and give a.
Oh, absolutely. You have to, Ali. You have to.
Absolutely, ma'am.
Because you love
Absolutely.
solos, you yourself love acting, and you're going to share with me what you felt. But
Bilkul, ma'am. Absolutely. Ma'am, talking about Rahel Padamsi, you worked with Alec Padamsi, you had a close association with him. I think you did Merchant of Venice together with him long time back, ages ago.
I
How's that
did.
play?
I did his Lady Macbeth.
Lady Macbeth, you are done with him. Yes, 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 yes,
He
yes,
was a
yes.
delight to work with, Alec, and he was very sweet to me. So, I mean, I used to feel so sometimes a little embarrassed because he was so good to me. He was so good to me, and you have to read what he's written on me as an actor.
You
It's on my
know,
website.
you know, though Alec is of course not there with us anymore, but still, the way you speak so fondly about Alec, एक तरीके से I'm equating it with the way I would take pride in the fact in telling everyone and sharing everyone widely and showing this is like very proudly that see me in conversation with my mentor with Lushin Dubey. There it is.
No, Alex was, let's give him his due.
Of course,
He
no,
did over
that
75 productions. He was a thespian to the par excellence.
of
And he had
course.
such confidence in what he did, whatever he picked up, and such confidence. And then I remember, I was still a I am a convent educated girl. What can I do? So, there was this scene where I had to go into the arms of Macbeth. Lady Macbeth goes into the arms of Macbeth, Vijay Krishna, and they have to be passionately, in this embrace and be kissing. And I just froze. And so did he. In all honesty, he froze too. So we just do, and then we turn like this. Alec would say, "That didn't miss me. That come back." And so we'd have to come back like this. And he said, "What are you? Are you kids?" He tell Vijay and me, "Are you kids? I mean, kiss each other. What's wrong with you people?" I said, "Alec, I know, I'm being irrational, but I just can't do it. And I just cannot do it. I'll fake it." I told him. He said, "You think everybody doesn't know?" He was very outspoken. "You think everybody doesn't know that you're not doing it? You're just just faking it." And Vijay Krishna would be standing there, very much the gentleman, and would not say that I also feel embarrassed. So I would poke him and say, "Vijay, you also say what you're feeling." So we were like two school kids. And but then therein is the charm, Ali, that we are still hang on to some of our whatever constraints because we come from a certain age, certain generation. We just feel a little funny doing it, strange, awkward. Then Alec accepted it. He accepted it because I said, "You want me to be comfortable, no? I have to be comfortable." So I also sometimes insist on laying some ground rules. Like, for example, I have a problem about four letter words if they are just thrown arbitrarily in a script. Now, I'm not going to name the director, but somebody was directing me who I respect enormously. And there were a lot of these words every 2 3 lines, you know. So I said, I don't, because I was the producer. I said that I don't see why this should be there. So he said, "What do you mean? It's a part of the script." And I said, "But what will happen to the script if you take it away and put a word like hell or bloomin'? Or what is it going to do? Is it going to elevate your script if you put 10 times this word uh, in the script? Or is it going to not matter whether you put this word or that word? Think about it," I told him. And he said, "You're being unnecessarily, you're just being unnecessarily picky." I said, "Well, I just feel it's unnecessary. It doesn't warrant so much usage." So finally, Ali, he agreed. He agreed. Sometimes you have to.
I'm I'm glad you reasoned out with him, ma'am, because बेतुका अगर sense नहीं बन रहा था, and yes, if you say what the, you can say what the hell,
Hey,
what the hell's
listen,
going on?
some amount I can understand. Sometimes, I'm sure you felt it. Sometimes there is an overt use of words, an overt demonstration of something. Less is right, and less is more. Less is more anyway on screen. But less is right. If you throw too much of something, too much, where is the where is the weight? Where is the bazan? Where is the density to that? I mean, it's a personal take, of course.
मैं आपने बिल्कुल खूब फरमाया था, दैट लेस इज मोर एंड स्पेशली ऑन स्क्रीन। आपने मेरे को अच्छे से जिक्र है, 2010 की बात है, आपने एक वाकया बताया था कि आप एक फिल्म कर रही थी जहां पे द कैमरा वाज नॉट ऑन यू, ऑन योर फेस, बट ऑन योर फिंगर्स, एंड योर फेस एंड योर फिंगर्स वर शेकिंग। तो वो हम, आई एम श्योर आवर व्यूअर्स वुड लाइक टू नो मोर फ्रॉम, एंड उसी में ही पूरा मैसेज सब
Was,
कुछ उसी में
yeah,
कन्वे हो गया था।
it was Shonali Bose's film, Amu. I have great regard for her as a director. It was once again not a very big role, but it was a important role, the mother of the lead guy, and it was a very brooding role. It's just on her face. So the broodingness, I suppose, came through. It was something which was expressed on my face, but more, I don't know, I must have just got into it with the hands because it was very internal. And I was amazed when I saw the film. There was a whole shot of, like, I don't know how many seconds, just focused on the hands. And I realized, my God, she has really put a statement there. You know, it's not my face that's there, it's my hands. And later I told her, my God, you did. She said, yeah, that was so powerful. I had to put it there. So,
She's brilliant. Sonali is brilliant. And in fact, incidentally, she's from my sister concerned school. I'm from Lawrence School, Lovedale. She's from Lawrence School, Sanar. And she is very sensitive, especially, the tragedy she had in her life. But that
you
made her,
know,
I think,
Ali, I told her, it was such a chota role, ye wo. She said, I'm going to send you an email. I said, what? She said, you just read that email. I read it. There was, I think he was in the army, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Some gentleman who said, film was great, this, that. He went into the film. And then he said, I really like the role of the mother and the brooding element. It really left a mark. Then she told me, now you saw, it is not about how big it is, it is about what you left the audience feeling. And I gathered from her, yes, I guess I shouldn't say that, itna chota sa tha ye, this is what she told me, you know. And then I did this one, Saat Uchakke, again, there was some remark on. So you never know kya notice hota hai, kya nahi. You get used to, like, I've done serials, Kashmir with Farooq Sheikh, I've done with Dilip Tahil and others. Uh,
Kashmir mein mere cousin to say, ma'am, Salim Shah. You work with him.
who? Ah, yeah,
Salim,
yeah,
yes, of
yeah,
course.
yeah. What
Ji,
a
man.
beautiful series that was.
Ji, man.
Beautiful, that Kashmir. It was
Ji.
sad that politics got into it, and after 1 year, it was aborted. But it was a beautiful series, and to
Incidentally,
work
ma'am,
with Farooq Ji was
I know,
just
of
what an
course.
actor to work with.
Of
He used
course.
to tease me all the time and go and hide my bag and hide my shoes and torture me by saying, I used to feel tortured because his Urdu was so beautiful, and he would just read the whole script and just throw it away, and then he'd see me looking at my lines and studying my lines in Hindi, and he would say, "अरे बाबा उसको छोड़ दो, अब पढ़ लिया तुमने, अब जाके स्टेज स्क्रीन पे जो मर्जी है करो." I said, आप कर सकते हैं, मैं नहीं कर सकती.
उनका खास तौर से प्ले तुम्हारी अमृता अवधि विद शबाना आजमी एंड फारूक शेख, ओ जबरदस्त, जबरदस्त।
Zabardast, Zabardast. Beautiful, beautiful. Even Shabana is just amazing in that. Both of them, fabulous. Really
रिमाइंड यू ऑन द प्ले, वो लव लेटर्स था, और उसी तरीके से डियर लायर, मॉटली का प्रोडक्शन। आई वंडर इफ यू सीन नसीर रत्ना परफॉर्मिंग
yes,
डियर लायर।
I've seen it. I consider that one of his best.
ऑफ कोर्स, यस मैम।
I just love him and her in that. Yeah.
मैम, मैम पता है आपके साथ ना, लाइक यू मेंशन अबाउट योर नीस ईरा हेल्पिंग यू आउट विद द प्रोडक्शन एंड सच थिंग्स, एंड एक
Film.
with the film, yes ma'am. And Salim Shah, my cousin, had worked with you in Kashmir.
Yes.
Nasir Saab and Lilith, your sister, worked in Monsoon Wedding.
Yes.
My cousin Imad and your niece worked in Malana Cream, M Cream.
M
The
Cream.
film.
M Cream. I was in
M
that
Cream.
also with
Yes ma'am.
I was with, oh, what's wrong with me? The Tom Alter.
टॉम टॉम साहब के साथ मैम आई हैव रियली लर्न सो मच गालिब गालिब के खतूत एंड वो जिस
I
तरीके
miss him so much. He and I started out doing a play called The Wall, which was a recreated, fabulous script by Rahul Pulkeshi uh, on Pink Floyd, with Pink Floyd's music. Beautifully written script, lovely play, which didn't last. I think we did, I don't know, about 8, 9 shows. That's it. But he was in that. And then we became such good friends that he told me, मैं एक script लिखूंगा, 30 minutes की script लिखूंगा with you and me in it and with Hindi songs. And we did that together also, Ali. It was absolutely marvelous. We used to get along so well. And then I went to see a play of his he invited me to at Allianz. And I noticed when he was acting, his hand was like this. Where was the thumb? And
this is yes, yeah, he had cancer, so he had to get operated. Yes,
so I
ma'am.
went after the show and I said to him, I gave him a hug and said, "You were great," etc. And I said, "Tom, what's, are you okay?" I didn't want to ask him outright. And he also looked very pallid. Face was looking pallid. I said, "Are you okay?" And he just did this. So I said, "What's that?" Like this. I said, "What's that?" He said, "I've lost my thumb." I said, "Come here." And we went to the wings because everybody was congratulating this, that. And he said, "I've got cancer." And I said, "What?" I wanted to visit him in Bombay. I wanted to, but before I knew it, Ali, he was gone.
Ma'am, when Ompuri Saab passed away, and we were like we still are very much close to his family. His son Ishan and I, we are like brothers. Ishan is literally my younger brother, man. So when Ompuri Saab's prayer meeting was going on, that time I observed Tom Saab didn't have a thumb when he was holding the mic and he was giving a speech. Then uske baad, when he fell sick once again, he got, ma'am, when he was in Safi hospital every day from morning till evening, some of my friends who are very close, Dr. Saeed Alam, myself, he came from Delhi. We used
He
to be
worked
there.
so much with
And
Saeed
then,
Alam. He did so many plays with Saeed Alam.
exactly, ma'am. So
Yeah.
Saeed Bhai and I are very, very close. We are like brothers. He's like my elder brother, basically. So when he was in Safi hospital, and the night when he passed away, ma'am, I was in Malad at that moment, at that time. And then I got a call from Ishan. So Ishan Puri, his mother Nanda Puri, myself, we immediately raat ko 12 baje we drove down to town to YMCA, and we were there, and it was really tragic. But his son Jamie, who's a sports journalist, he's doing really well for himself.
Very
And so,
good. Very good. Very good.
so Jamie are in touch, and मैम इट्स लाइक आपके साथ गुफ्तगू में इतना मजा आ रहा है मैम कि भाई सी आई नो आई रिकॉर्ड दैट यू गॉट मीटिंग एंड यू हैड अ हाउस गेस्ट एंड एवरीथिंग मैम 1 घंटा कहाँ निकल गया आपके साथ मैम आई कैन जस्ट गो ऑन एंड ऑन फॉर आवर्स टॉकिंग टू यू विदाउट अ ब्रेक आई डोंट नीड अ ब्रीदर फॉर दैट एंड
I
इट इज सो रिफ्रेशिंग स्पीकिंग टू यू मैम मैम बिफोर आई लेट यू गो एक चीज और मैम क्योंकि यू आर सच एन अकम्प्लिश्ड पर्सनालिटी आपने आपके
know.
पास बड़े बड़े
Now you're
नामी
making me feel not 10 feet tall, 11 feet tall. You're making me feel 12 feet tall. I'll pop out of the screen. I'll expand and pop out of the screen. Yeah, tell me.
मैम आपके पास नामी अवार्ड्स है मैम सो यू आर extremely well known in theatre, well known in films as well, and you've done मैम खास तौर से आपकी परफॉर्मेंस रंगरेज की and your work with Santosh Shivam had very high words for you as well. I've heard all this. So मैम ये बताइए
Uh-huh.
कि आपको फर्क क्या लगता है थिएटर में और फिल्म में अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट कि फ्रेम इतना है और ये अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट मतलब एज अ क्राफ्ट्समैन फर्क क्या है दोनों में थिएटर में और फिल्म में अकॉर्डिंग टू यू मैम
Firstly, it's like comparing apples and oranges. Um, I think what happens in theater is there's no disturbance. You get into your role and you fly with it. There's no breakage. There is no, इधर रोको उधर रोको. Uh, अब ये हिस्सा करो, अब ये हिस्सा करो. Film is a completely dissected medium. It's completely dissected because you don't know whether you'll first attach the arm to the body or the leg to the body or the head to the body. Will the body come first? Will the You have no idea. So in that sense, it's very different, and in that sense, if theater has its own elements of being tough, film also has its own elements of being tough. That journey, that stoppage. Then in scene kar rahe hain, and if you're doing an intense scene, 10 bar rukavat, you've sort of reached your pitch of feeling it at that point of time. Again, cut, spot boy, come in, this come in. So those are solid, you know it's the nature of the beast. It is what it is, and you have to work with that. um, and I, of course, we all understand who do films that so much is dependent on the poor director producer, not just um, like a theater where you just have a space and you have to do it there. I mean, so many arms and legs have to get tied, right? And that is why it can be, like, for example, I did this film for which I got the Gemini for CBC, Canadian Broadcasting, Murder Unveiled. When I reached Canada, um, I remember reaching Vancouver, and of course, it was a marvelous, marvelous experience to work with this Canadian troupe because I did two films with them, with the same director. Anyway, when I did Murder Unveiled, Vinay Pathak was in this film with me. Yeah. Um, Second day, it's a very intense film where the mother masterminds what happens to her daughter. Okay, in the end, it's a film on honor killing that happened in Vancouver. And second day, they gave me the scene when I give the word, what has to be done, what has to be done to my daughter. Okay, I I told the director, I said, I've not even felt my role a bit. I I mean, just I should feel it a little bit before I jump into the climax scene. He said, no, it has to be. By then I was only like 7, 8 films new. Today I know what it means. I mean, you really got to go through the whole screenplay and actually go through it yourself to know where you're going to reach. So I did it. And now when I look at it all put together, I say, yeah, it has worked. But maybe I could have played it like this, and maybe I might have played it like this. That always happens in a film. I feel, as an actor, for myself, I'm saying. I'm never satisfied. I feel that in retrospect, this could have, some scenes were fine, you know, but no, I could have done it like this. Maybe I could have. Now I understand what Farooq Sheikh meant when he said, I never look at the screen after I've done something because I'll be so critical that I don't want to. Stage may you just go at one shot and it's done. It's behind you, it's history. Whereas here, it's a dissected medium. So it's it's very easy to be very critical as an actor, I feel, the screen. So I guess it needs a lot of seasoning, a lot of seasoning. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just 20 films old. Maybe if I had done 60, I'd be talking another language. I'm talking from the perspective of where I am and the toughness of the dissected medium.
20 feature films old. 20 feature films old. You've done many short films, many student films which I know of. You आपने और भी बहुत काम किया है पिक्चरों में मतलब it's not just the feature films आपने you've done other short film many films in fact
Yeah, but you
and
see, I think when you are seasoned with 60, 70, 80 films, you probably know the trade, that okay, I also don't like to see myself because I feel I get critical. Besides the fact that a camera will make your chin look like this or your you know suddenly add god knows how much weight to you. But because it's I don't know, I found myself being very critical.
Ma'am, I must share another thing with you. You know, it really, it's
So
a,
when I
you'll
got
be.
nominated for this film, I that was a big thing. When I won. I wondered how the devil did I win because there were so many Canadian American actresses. They're probably far better than me. But then I said, chaliye. I felt it. Maybe others also felt it, and so take it.
Ma'am, good work speaks for itself, you know, and yes, and there it is. I
Did
mean,
you see Rangres?
of course, क्या मैम आप थी उसमें क्यों क्यों नहीं कैसे नहीं देखते हैं? I mean, you know, it is
Saw Rangres.
really superb. Ma'am, you are my one of my favorite actresses, really. I mean, you know, it is, and not just my favorite actress, but one of my favorite human beings, I would say. You're so full of warmth, zest for life, and your energy, your vibration is
Ali,
superb.
I'm literally going to fall out of this screen. You're making me. You're puffing me up. You're really puffing me up.
uh, Ma'am, ma'am, talking about this, ma'am, because your husband, Professor Saab,
Hmm.
and he has a solid reputation of, you know, and he apparently जो भी उनसे बात करते हैं, he's full of warmth and love and affection, and his students swear by him, in fact.
I'm
And
blessed.
he has this quality of आपने correction की बात की थी standard last week in terms of performance, but in real life he has this quality of connecting with people with चाहे student हो, चाहे academician हो, चाहे
Absolutely.
कोई भी
Absolutely.
field में हो. So, so, ma'am, tell me how much of his experience as an academician has been on you, ma'am, or his influence has been on you.
I've learned a hell of a lot from him. I mean, I'll sound. I feel a little embarrassed that I'm having, but I'll say it because I always say to myself, what is the harm? Why shouldn't one say good things? A lot of people have a closure on this. They. I don't know why. I don't know why. If I like something about you, your warmth, your openness, Ali, I'm talking about you, and your embracing element, I should tell you that. That's something good. Why not? Why not? So,
Big hug to you,
firstly,
ma'am. So sweet,
he
so sweet.
is extremely well known in his field, applied mathematics and game theory. And he's one of the most humble human beings I know. I remember going to Italy with him, and I travel a lot with him to Europe and places where he's invited. And he had gone, it was a conference, and he was somewhere in the conference, and there were some other professors who came, Italians, and they told me, and you are, this was some years back, quite a few years back, who you are. And I said, I am Lushin Dubey, and I'm Professor Dubey's wife. And he said, oh my God, he bowed. And he said, are you talking of the king in our field, Dubey, Professor Dubey? But you will never feel it with my husband. I mean, he is one of the top notch in his fields, but he's got immense amount of humility, which I observe and I smile at because I say, I think I'm blessed. I must have done something in my youth or childhood to deserve somebody like this, honestly. And we were just talking about it yesterday with some friends who had come for dinner, and they were saying the same thing. Excuse me, that he makes everybody feel, like I said, 10 feet tall, 12 feet tall. There is no आप इधर हैं, आपकी औकात क्या है, कहाँ हैं आप? नहीं, there's none of that. He could be talking to a Nobel laureate. He could be talking to his advisor who was a Nobel laureate. He could be talking to my cook who adores him. He could be talking to my driver who adores him. He could be, everybody is. So there are a lot of things I've learned from him. And also, he's thick skinned, which is a wonderful quality. We all live with so many, look, all of us have insecurities. That's a part of human nature. We all have insecurities. We all have, you know, react to judgment and so on. But my husband will laugh it off. He can laugh at himself a lot. He can laugh a lot at himself, which I think is a wonderful quality.
Of course.
Don't set me on my husband. Set me off on my husband because I'll go on and on. Very, very rare, because
I love
sometimes
that.
I'm in gatherings where there are women and some of them are complaining about this and I'm chup, because I say if I say anything, I've nothing to say. Even his absent-mindedness, chalo, professors are absent-mindedness. He's a mathematician, so he's quite absent-minded. I find it cute. So I keep telling him, you're very lucky that I find it cute. I could actually say, "Oh my God, why can't you put the socks in the, where it should be? Do you want it? I've got to wash it in the laundry." But when he says, "But I deliberately kept it here because I knew you will see it before me," there's a lot. And I say, "You must have been a judge or a lawyer in your past birth." I can't argue with him. I just break out in a smile or a laugh. He's lucky. He's very lucky.
Oh, ma'am. Amazing being in conversation with you, ma'am. Thank you so much for your time, ma'am. Really grateful to you. You took out
Thank
time, and I
you,
know
Ali.
how.
Thank you.
Lot
Thank you.
of love to you, ma'am, and my regards to your beautiful girls and to sir, of course, and to your entire family, ma'am. Lot of love, respect, and more power to you, ma'am.
Thank
Thank you
you,
very
my
much.
dear. And come for a story. I shall inform you. Okay?
Superb, ma'am.
Thank,
Superb. Thank
thank
you, ma'am. Take care, ma'am. Cheers, ma'am.
you too. Likewise.